Oakland police officers recognized as heroes. An update regarding Lake Apopka. A big event at Lake Apopka this weekend. And we remember a Winter Garden Matriarch who served and inspired so many in our community and beyond. The date is March 24th, 2022. We're going to go through these stories and more. Welcome to West Orange on the Go. My name is Austin Arthur, and this is where we do local news and comment. And when I say local news, I mean hyper-local. West Orange, this is your news. We begin in 10 seconds.
You're listening to West Orange on the Go. Brought to you by the West Orange Times and Observer. Hosted by Austin Arthur. West Orange on the Go.
Now, last week we discussed a house fire in Oakland. There was very little info at the time, but this week there's a whole write-up on the incident. And in one part of the paper, it discusses the first on scene. It was 3 police officers, Oakland Police Lieutenant Angela Campbell, and shortly after her was Officer Renee Castro and Oakland Detective Sean Dozer. When they arrived, 50% of the structure was already fully in flames. The officers didn't hesitate. They broke a window and pulled out a victim from the building from all the blinding black smoke, fire everywhere. And they started to escort the victim out to safety, but then they were informed by that victim that there was still somebody else inside. Well, once again, they didn't hesitate. Fire rescue hadn't arrived yet. So they broke another window and took their flashlights and started to yell for the victim. They located him, they pulled him out, and they started to bring him to safety. Now, a few minutes after these 2 victims were rescued, Orange County Fire Rescue did arrive and began to put out the fire. The couple was transported to Orlando Regional Medical Center to be treated for smoke inhalation. The 3 officers were checked on scene and cleared. A quote from the police fire chief, this is Police Fire Chief of Oakland, John Peake. Quote, "Our officers' heroism and commitment to the public we serve were on full display as the 3 officers, working as a team, saved the lives of 2 Oakland residents. The State Fire Marshal's office has investigated and states that it seems to be an electrical fire that caused the incident and that it occurred somewhere in the attic." Now, the couple had rescue cats that they would take in, and sadly, 10 cats perished in this fire. And apparently the house is totally destroyed and not salvageable. There is a GoFundMe page that somebody set up for the couple, and you can donate. If you'd like to check that out, visit orangeobserver.com or our Facebook page. We also have the link there in this week's paper. Writer's Block Bookstore in the city of Winter Garden celebrated the opening of the Little Free Library on Wednesday, March 16th in front of the U.S. Post Office on Plant Street. The Little Free Library is a nonprofit organization that installs book stands filled with books for people to take and read, though you are encouraged to also leave a book in exchange for taking one. According to the organization, many of these Little Free Library boxes are located in residential settings. Those interested can go online and see where the libraries are. They're within your community, and you can find a good book to read. And I encourage book reading. We got to put the social media down every once in a while. All right, so where do you check these things out? I mention links sometimes. I don't tell you the link normally, but you can go to orangeobserver.com. Follow us on Facebook, the big red boxes all around town. That's where you get your free paper every week. It's a service to our community, okay? The paper of record. And now this. The West Orange Habitat for Humanity Restore is looking for passionate and committed people to be part of the Restore volunteer team. These folks are critical in helping the store run smoothly. A great organization who does a lot for people in our community, bringing affordable housing to those less fortunate among us. Last week, I talked a lot on the final page about Lake Apopka, Friends of Lake Apopka, and Jim Thomas. I talked about how we need to pay attention to this, the conservation efforts, the revitalization efforts for Lake Apopka. Now, I have an update. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, well, apparently they just authorized an immediate treatment for 6,000 acres of hydrilla in Lake Apopka. Now, if you listened to last week's program, you know that this is the main problem we're facing with our lake right now. Hydrilla is the main issue. So 6,000 is a great amount. It's, there's a lot more hydrilla that needs to be taken care of so we can really get it to a manageable amount, but 6,000 acres does a lot. So we're grateful for that, and I'm grateful to my friend Joe Dunn, who is the current president of the Friends of Lake Apopka, that's FOLA, and we will monitor this, and I hope that more progress is had. We appreciate the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation, the FWC, making a decision here that was appropriate, and we hope they continue, and we hope they do more soon. So thank you. All right. Now, there's another big event I want you to know about this weekend at Lake Apopka at Newton Park. The Winter Garden Rotary Club is back with its biggest and highest anticipated event of the year, Broadway and Beyond. This year, the annual event will feature a variety of acts by performers from Broadway, off-Broadway, Disney, and local artists. The pre-show will begin at 6 p.m. and include performers from Gymnastics USA, that's the Climbers Aerial Acrobatics, and Orlando Youth Chamber Ensembles. The show will run from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., but as stated, you want to get there for the pre-show. It starts at 6 p.m. You get your tickets at rotaryclubofwintergarden.org. Now, let me tell you something about this event. You're going to want to be there, but there is some clarity I think that you should have. Now, the city has asked that participants don't bring hard coolers. So just be aware of that. We don't want you to come out to the event and have your awesome cooler with you and, then they turn you away and say, you can't bring the cooler. So bring, something like a soft cooler, something small, and you could bring your sandwich or whatever you have, this sort of stuff. So just be aware that the Rotary Club, the event, will not be selling any drinks or food. So you'll want to bring your own snacks, all right? But no hard coolers. Okay. I hope to see you there. It's rotaryclubofwintergarden.org. rotaryclubofwintergarden.org, right there on the lake at Newton Park. And now let's go into our sports highlight for the week. Scott Grove has accomplished many things during his time as the head coach of the First Academy's baseball team. He brought the school a national championship in 2014, his first year as head coach of the Royals, and then a state championship in 2021. And to start the 2022 season, the team has won 10 consecutive games to open the year, making it 32 straight wins dating back to last season. Now he can add one more accomplishment to his prestigious tenure: 500 wins. That's right. He has accomplished his 500th game win. So that's a big accomplishment, and we want to congratulate Scott Grove of First Academy, making West Orange proud. All right, so for all of your hyper-local sports news, make sure you check out this week's paper and online. Let me tell you about another school, another great school, Foundation Academy. It's our sponsor of this program. Next month, I will be doing a special edition podcast with the president of that organization, learning about him and the history of the school. The church that it's associated with is even older. The church it's associated with is nearly 100 years old. So I want you to check out Foundation Academy. I want you to be aware of this podcast. Look out for it in April, probably around mid-April. We'll see. We'll keep you posted. Foundation Academy, where character matters. And now let's go into our final page. The name Barbara Roper is synonymous with volunteerism and philanthropy in West Orange County. And that work started when she was a newlywed, making her home in Winter Garden in 1950. This important contribution would continue throughout her life. Mrs. Roper, a name we know so well in this community, Mrs. Barbara Roper died March 7th, 2022. She passed in her West Orange home on Lake Butler, where she had lived for nearly 72 years. She was 93 when she passed this month. Barbara Roper was born on New Year's Eve in 1928. It was in college that she met her future husband, Bert Roper, on a blind date. The two married in 1950. Now, Barbara was from Pittsburgh, and she described herself as a Yankee who married the most eligible bachelor in town. She said doing so did not make her popular as a resident in her early years here in Winter Garden. It was a challenge for Barbara Roper to learn about Central Florida and a life different from the cultured big city in which she had grown up. Barbara learned to handle guns, hunting for squirrels that ate her fruit, snakes hiding under the dock, and other Florida critters, including once an armadillo she cooked into a stew and served to the family, only later telling the children that what they had eaten was not chicken. Barbara Roper taught first grade at the original Tildenville School for several years before she and Bert started their family. Her service to the community began as a founding member of the West Orange Junior Service League, and she served as president in 1957. What started as a search for area camps for her children turned into a lifelong passion for the YMCA of Central Florida. She started as a volunteer board member, and upon learning volunteers don't have much authority, rose the ranks and became the first female board chair of both the YMCA of Central Florida and the YMCA of the United States of America. She and colleagues were instrumental in starting the West Orange YMCA in 1971. After the Ropers contributed toward the facility's expansion, the name was changed to the Roper YMCA Family Center, and many of you know it well. Beginning in 2003, Barbara was instrumental in the formation of the Garden Theater in Winter Garden's historic downtown. Now, this is an incredible story in itself. The Garden Theater is an old theater from the 20s and 30s, and they ended up bringing it back, revitalizing it on a journey that started in 2003, and they opened it several years later. You can go today and enjoy great shows there. The list goes on in this week's piece. You'll be very impressed. I was very impressed to learn about everything she was involved in. I mean, just an incredible life. Her daughter, Becky Roper, said, quote, "She was always laughing, always smiling. I started to look back through all the pictures, and most of them she was always smiling and laughing in." End quote. Her son, Charlie, said, quote, "I'm proud of the number of females she's influenced and modeled a pathway for. I look at so many people who have reached out. They say your mother was such a model for me to be able to do what we're doing now." End quote. The Roper children and grandchildren intend to carry on the work started by Bert and Barbara. Charlie Roper said, "Mom and Dad never told us to volunteer in the community. It was always something they modeled. If you're going to live in the community, you need to give back to the community." End quote. The family said Roper is the last of her generation on both sides of her family. A celebration of life will be held in the near future. In lieu of flowers, the family asked that donations be directed in Barbara's name to one of the organizations that she cherished: Valencia Community College, Central Florida YMCA, or the Garden Theater. Now online and on the Facebook, we have all the links there, so I encourage you to check them out. A great woman, a great inspiration. I think it's important that we are a community who honors those who came before us. People like Barbara Roper. And there's so many others, and we must remember them all. So I want to end tonight by thanking Mrs. Barbara Roper for her lifelong service to our community. She surely will be missed. This has been Austin Arthur with the West Orange Times and Observer. And until next week, have a happy and blessed weekend.
West Orange on the Go is brought to you by the West Orange Times and Observer. Hosted by Austin Arthur. West Orange on the Go.